Neil Gaiman is a well-known, internationally best-selling author known for works such as Coraline, Good Omens, and Dead Boy Detectives. However, recently 2 women have come forward accusing Gaiman of essaying them in very violent ways. Let's talk about what we know and some of the questions that we still have. Hey, what's up, Spencer? My name is everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about some very unfortunate news with the author Neil Gaiman. I am always very sad and very upset when things like this come to light because it always seems like the people that we look up to the most end up letting us down the most. And then it's like, who can I trust? Can you trust anybody? Are you stupid for believing that any celebrity could potentially be a good person? Or is everybody in this world secretly a terrible, evil person, and the people who we still believe are good are just lucky to have not been exposed yet? This news originally came out about a week ago, and I waited until now to make this video because I wanted to see if any other people were going to come forward, to see if Gaiman was going to put out any statements about this, but nothing has really been updated with this story, which is why I'm making this video now. So with that, let's jump right in. Most of the information that I got for this video came from the article Manufacturing Consent by Annabelle Ross, so shout out to her. I found it to be incredibly well researched. She went really in depth with a lot of this and did some extra research on her own that I found quite a lot of articles to be lacking in. And I think that she's really mindful of the people who are contributing to this conversation and who is saying what and where their exact roles are and how they stand in the world in relation to all of this. Either way, it's a great article. I encourage you to check it out. I'm going to try and remember to link it down below, so definitely read it. So at the beginning of July, a podcast called Master, The Allegations Against Neil Gaiman, was released onto Apple Podcasts, and across 4 episodes, it was revealed in some pretty graphic detail some of the terrible things that Neil Gaiman has done to women. It also goes into the neglect from the New Zealand police, where they basically refuse to look into this at all, and how Amanda Palmer, Neil Gaiman's wife, apparently knew about his assault from the 2 women that are mentioned in this case, but also over a dozen more women beyond that. I personally have not listened to this podcast, number 1, because it was put out by Boris Johnson's sister, Rachel Johnson, and I'm not really a big Boris Johnson fan. And 2, I don't really want to listen to the insane graphic detail of the things that have happened to these 2 victims. If you yourself want to know more about this, I highly encourage you to go out and listen to the podcast. Like I said, it's on Apple Podcasts. I'm pretty sure that it's free, so I think that just about anybody can go and listen to it. So if you want to listen to it, I will try and also have that linked down below. So then you can hear about everything directly from the mouth of one of the victims. So there are 2 official victims in this case, even though it has been referenced that there are quite a few more women who could potentially come out at some point in the future. But for right now, this case just involves these 2 women. The first victim is a woman who is going by the initial K. Kay states that she first met Gaiman in 2003 at a book signing when she was about 18 years old. And after this book signing, she and Gaiman stayed in contact, and a year later, he asked Kay and one of her friends to join him in bed, to which they declined. And then a year after that, when Kay was 20 and Gaiman was 45, they started an actual romantic and sexual relationship. Apparently, at one point in their relationship, Kay asked Gaiman not to penetrate her because she was having a really bad UTI, but he did it anyway, and this obviously caused her an excruciating amount of pain. And even though they didn't continue to have a romantic or sexual relationship, they did remain friends up until 2022, when Kay finally fully realized what their relationship was, what it meant, what really had happened, and completely cut contact with him. Gaiman obviously fully denies all of these accusations and says that everything that occurred between them was completely consensual. And the second victim is a woman named Scarlett, and this is the person that the Masters podcast focuses on and interviews. Scarlett states that she was originally a friend of Amanda Palmer's, who, like I said, is Neil Gaiman's wife, and that is how she was originally introduced to Neil Gaiman, and she had been hired as Palmer and Gaiman's nanny to take care of their young son. Allegedly, because remember, all of this stuff is alleged, nothing has fully been proven yet. In February of 2022, on Scarlett's first day of work, Scarlett drew herself a bath and Gaiman joined her in this bath. And while they were in the bath together, he penetrated her anally, which was something that she was not consenting to. Gaiman states that all they did was consensually make out and cuddle the entire time. And then over the next 3 weeks, Scarlett and Gaiman apparently had a sexual affair in which he penetrated her anally again, causing her so much pain that it caused her to pass out, and had Scarlett do many degrading sexual activities. Again, Gaiman states that everything that they did was fully consensual, and she did send him a text thanking him for their wonderful night at the same time that she was texting another friend that Gaiman had violated some boundaries. And this is where things get messy. Things always get messy in this type of relationship, especially when BDSM is involved, because apparently there were consensual BDSM elements going on here. But the tough thing about sex and BDSM especially is that everybody needs to be like super into like communicating and be super able to communicate with each other and their partners. And clearly these women did communicate to Gaiman that they didn't want to do stuff, and he ignored that and did it anyway. But I also think that it's possible that Gaiman has kind of convinced himself that all of these things that are happening are actually consensual, even if they're not. If you're a guy who is doing non-consensual stuff to a girl and then the next day she texts you saying, hey, thanks for the great night, I had a wonderful time, obviously you are going to put yourself in the mindset that, oh, clearly the things that I'm doing, these girls say that they don't want it, but they secretly do. And here I have the proof. She's thanking me for the stuff that we did last night, when clearly this person is in a spot of feeling that they need to say it because they don't want to lose their job. It's somebody who's incredibly rich and famous and has a lot of power. It's really tough to be able to stand up to that person. Or sometimes we don't fully comprehend the gravity of a situation until later when we have moved on from it and are in a place where we can look back on it and fully realize like how fucked up a situation is. I'm not saying that Gaiman shouldn't have known better, because he definitely should, but I do think that it's possible that he has convinced himself that the things that he is doing is okay in some manner. About a month after this incident, Scarlett did go to Palmer about this experience and to talk to her about Gaiman's behavior. And apparently Palmer seemed very exasperated with the situation and tired of the fact that this keeps happening, referencing that Scarlett was the 14th fucking woman to come to her about something like this. And I'm sorry, 14? 14. 14. You 14? You didn't do anything? 14. And those are just the people who are brave enough to talk to the wife about it. Think of all of the people, all of the women who have probably experienced this and have not talked to Amanda Palmer about this stuff. Gaiman and Palmer haven't really addressed any of this on their social media accounts. Palmer is just kind of deleting any comments on her Instagram asking her to address this or kind of standing in defiance. There seems to be quite a few people who are talking about her being caught up in this, like involuntarily, like she didn't know. She clearly did. But she's deleting any comment that's kind of asking her to stand with the victims as opposed to standing with her husband. And Neil Gaiman has just completely flat out ignored social media since this has happened. He's usually pretty active on Tumblr, but he has not posted a single thing on Tumblr in the past week since this has come out. However, Gaiman did respond to Scarlett's initial accusations, calling her mentally ill and saying that she had a medical disorder that caused her to create false memories, which is not true. We've gone through her medical records. Her medical records have been shared with the public to prove that she, in fact, does not have any sort of memory issues. She doesn't create false memories. So yeah, Gaiman is basically just calling her a hysterical, delusional woman. Great. If we turn to the internet and see what the fans are saying, it seems to me that an overwhelming majority of people seem to be very supportive of the victims. I myself am also very supportive. I definitely believe them. And a lot of the conversation that seems to be happening on the Neil Gaiman subreddit seems to be talking about how hurt or disappointed they are, or just having a larger conversation of how much belief should we have in public figures? Are the people who fully believe that Neil Gaiman was a good person before this, are they stupid for believing that? I don't think that anybody is stupid for believing that somebody is a good person. But yeah, just having this like bigger conversation of how much should we believe celebrity figures and people who are just popular in general versus how skeptical should we be when people put on this persona of being a good person. This one is tough for me because obviously everybody has the capacity to be a bad person, to do evil things, but I don't think that it's a very healthy mindset to believe that every person out there is secretly evil. They're secretly murdering puppies and kittens in their spare time, and that the only people who are out there who are good only seem good because their bad stuff hasn't been revealed yet. The world is already a pretty terrible place, and I think that if we move into a mindset where you just automatically assume that people are inherently evil, and we spend a lot of time trying to focus on uncovering somebody's secret bad side, then that's just not gonna lead to good places. Humans are good. I want to believe that even if Neil Gaiman is a piece of shit, that humans are inherently good. Please don't take that belief away from me. It's the only thing that's getting me through the day. And beyond the general Neil Gaiman subreddit, there has been a thread of people talking about their personal interactions with Gaiman over the years and some of the questionable things that he has been doing in the past 30, 40, 50, however many years that he's been a public figure. I wasn't able to find the original thread. I think it may have been kind of buried a bit, but I have been able to find screenshots from other people who've been making posts about this thread. So let's go through some of the comments because quite a few of them are yikes on trikes. My friend was one of his former personal assistants, and I remember her telling stories back in the early aughts about having to, quote, pull Neil off a 15-year-old fan. She said this with a kind of eye roll, like it wasn't uncommon, simply part of the job. My coworker explained she actually met Neil Gaiman when she was in college and he had kissed her on the cheek out of the blue. Mind you, this was a meet and greet, and my coworker gave no indication that she wanted to be kissed or anything like that. It's also worth mentioning this coworker of mine looks very young for her age presently. What more when she was a teenager? I paraphrase wildly, but in the 90s, it was said that his publishers basically had to have a rotating number of young female assistants ready to keep him comfortable. Can't say too much, but Neil Gaiman is absolutely horrendous person, and I know people who knew him 30 to 40 years ago and literally left jobs to get away from him. Yeah, it seems like Neil Gaiman's behavior has been a bit more than questionable for the past few years. And this definitely shows, again, how if you are a rich, popular white man, you can kind of just get away with whatever you want. I mean, clearly, his publishers have been pandering to this behavior for decades. The police have expressed that they have little to no interest in pursuing this as a case whatsoever. I don't know where things are going to go now that this is more of a public thing, but the New Zealand police have stated that they're like not even bothering to talk to Gaiman about these accusations. And like I said, this news came out like over a week ago now, and there has been absolutely nothing about Good Omens 3 being canceled, anything for Dead Boy Detectives, nothing for his other projects. So I guess Netflix and Amazon and other corporations just don't care that he's been assaulting women. I doubt that anything is going to happen to him at this point if it hasn't already. If something were to happen, like there would probably need to be another something new come out, something like really, really, really damning would need to come out in order for there to be like actual consequences. It feels like it really seems like this is just going to blow over and he's going to be able to continue going on writing his little books and making his little shows and doing whatever he wants and probably still assaulting people. Anyway, that's kind of everything that we know about the Neil Gaiman situation at this time. If more comes out later, I will do my best to make a follow-up video about it. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But besides that, if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay safe and have a fantastic day. Bye.